5 financial mistakes Americans make before retirement. Have you ever wondered why 78% of Americans say they're worried about having enough money for retirement, even after decades of working hard and trying to save? It's not just about how much money you make, but about avoiding critical mistakes that silently drain your retirement savings without you even noticing. Did you know that Warren Buffett, arguably the greatest investor of all time, says that most Americans are making fundamental financial errors that will force them to work years longer than necessary? He told something I'll never forget. Most people spend more time planning their next vacation than planning the next 30 years of their retirement. I've spent the last 10 years preparing for retirement, and I've identified 5 devastating mistakes that keep showing up, mistakes that financial institutions won't tell you about, because they're actually profiting from your confusion. Today, I'm going to reveal these 5 retirement-destroying mistakes, and more importantly, show you exactly how to fix them, even if retirement is just around the corner. If you stay until the end, I'll share a special 6 bonus strategy that can potentially add hundreds of thousands to your retirement nest egg with minimal effort. If you're concerned about your retirement readiness, type "secure" in the comments below. Now, let's dive into the first critical mistake that might be silently draining your retirement funds right now. Mistake 1. Keeping too much cash in low-yield accounts. The first major mistake I've observed time and again is keeping too much money in traditional savings accounts. I know it feels safe. That's why so many people do it. We've been taught since childhood that saving money is responsible. But what nobody tells you is that your money is actually losing value sitting in a regular bank account. Let me share a story about Sarah, who I met at a retirement planning seminar. She was so proud of the $200,000 she had diligently saved over 25 years in her bank's savings account. She thought she was being careful and conservative, but when she learned how inflation had eaten away at her purchasing power, she was shocked to discover her money was worth about 40% less in real terms than when she first deposited it. The bank paid her less than 1% interest, while inflation averaged around 3% yearly. In real terms, she was losing money every single year. Think about it this way. The dollar that could buy a loaf of bread 20 years ago now only buys a slice. That's the hidden danger of keeping too much in cash. Your bank statement shows the same numbers or slightly higher ones, but your purchasing power is silently eroding. Warren Buffett explains this beautifully. He says, "The one thing I will tell you is the worst investment you can have is cash. Everybody is talking about cash being king and all that sort of thing. Cash is going to become worth less over time, but good businesses are going to become worth more over time. Don't misunderstand. You absolutely need an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. But anything beyond that is likely hurting your retirement prospects. The wealthy understand that money needs to work as hard as you do. Have you checked how much cash you're holding recently? Is it working for your future, or just sitting there losing value?" Let's move on to the second critical mistake that's derailing retirement plans across America. Mistake 2, underestimating healthcare costs. The second devastating mistake Americans make is severely underestimating how much healthcare will cost in retirement. When you ask most people how much they've budgeted for healthcare, they give a number that's alarmingly low, usually based on what they spend today, while still covered by employer insurance. I remember meeting James and Ellen at a community workshop. Both 65, they thought they had retirement all figured out. They had paid off their mortgage and saved $1.2 million. Based on their calculations, they could live comfortably on $5,000 monthly. What they hadn't accounted for was Ellen's rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis just 2 years into retirement. Their out-of-pocket costs, even with Medicare, skyrocketed to over $25,000 annually. Within 5 years, they were forced to sell their dream retirement home and move in with their daughter. Here's what most people don't realize. Medicare does not cover everything. It doesn't cover most dental care, eye exams, hearing aids, or long-term care, some of the biggest expenses in retirement. According to recent estimates, the average 65-year-old couple retiring today will need approximately $300,000 saved just for healthcare costs in retirement, not including potential long-term care needs. There's an ancient Japanese concept called udon nashi, meaning constant vigilance, or never letting your guard down. The Japanese apply this principle to health maintenance, recognizing that preventing problems is infinitely better than trying to fix them later. This wisdom applies perfectly to healthcare planning for retirement. Start by researching Medicare supplemental plans early. Consider opening a health savings account if you're eligible. It offers triple tax advantages that no other retirement vehicle provides. And perhaps most importantly, invest in your health now. Every dollar spent on maintaining good health today could save you tens of thousands in retirement. Ask yourself, have you factored healthcare costs into your retirement plan realistically, or are you hoping for the best? Now, let's talk about the third major mistake that silently drains retirement savings across America. Mistake 3, neglecting tax diversification. The third critical mistake that derails retirement plans is putting all your retirement savings into tax-deferred accounts like traditional 401(k)s without considering the tax consequences down the road. It feels good watching those pre-tax contributions grow year after year, but many people don't realize they're creating a potential tax time bomb for their future selves. At a financial education seminar I attended, I met Robert, age 68, who was ready to retire with $1.8 million, all in traditional IRAs and 401(k)s. He was shocked when the presenter explained that every dollar he withdrew would be taxed as ordinary income. Robert had diligently maximized his pre-tax contributions for decades, thinking he was doing everything right. When he calculated his required minimum distribution starting at 72, he realized he would be forced to withdraw amounts that would push him into a higher tax bracket than when he was working. His dream retirement lifestyle suddenly seemed out of reach. What Robert didn't understand was the importance of tax diversification, having different buckets of money that are taxed differently in retirement. It's like the old wisdom about not putting all your eggs in one basket, but for tax purposes, there's a profound teaching from the ancient Jewish financial tradition that applies perfectly here. For centuries, Jewish financial advisors have taught the principle of dividing assets into thirds. 1/3 in business, taxable investments, 1/3 in land, tax-advantaged investments, and 1/3 in liquid funds, tax-free investments. This diversification protected wealth across generations and changing tax environments. Consider building 3 types of accounts: tax-deferred accounts like traditional 401(k)s, tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs, and taxable brokerage accounts. This gives you tremendous flexibility to manage your tax bracket in retirement. You can pull from different accounts strategically each year based on your needs and tax situation. Have you considered what tax bracket you might be in during retirement? Are all your eggs in the tax-deferred basket? Let's explore the fourth major mistake that's costing Americans thousands in retirement income. Mistake 4, taking Social Security too early. The fourth mistake I've observed consistently is Americans claiming Social Security benefits too early without understanding the permanent consequences of this decision. About 60% of Americans claim benefits before their full retirement age, often as early as 62. While there are situations where this makes sense, for many people it's a costly error. At a retirement community event, I met Martha, a retired teacher who was now 70 with serious regrets. She had claimed Social Security at 62 because, as she put it, I wanted to get my money before the system went broke. Now, 8 years later, she was receiving about $1,450 monthly. Had she waited until her full retirement age of 66, she would have received about $1,900 monthly. And had she waited until 70, her benefit would have been about $2,500 monthly, over $1,000 more every single month for the rest of her life. Over a 20-year retirement, that decision cost her over $240,000 in benefits. Social Security is unique. It's the only retirement income source that's guaranteed, adjusted for inflation annually, and lasts for your entire life. For each year you delay claiming between 62 and 70, your benefit increases by about 7 to 8%. That's a guaranteed return you can't find anywhere else in today's financial markets. Warren Buffett himself has commented on this, noting, "If you can live to an average life expectancy, delaying Social Security is one of the best investments available to most Americans." He understands that longevity risk. The risk of outliving your money is one of the biggest threats to retirement security. Of course, there are legitimate reasons to claim early: poor health, shorter life expectancy, or immediate financial need. But too many Americans make this decision without running the numbers or understanding the long-term impact. Have you considered your Social Security claiming strategy? Have you calculated what waiting could mean for your lifetime benefits? Let's move on to the fifth and final critical mistake that impacts nearly every retiree's financial security. Mistake 5: emotional investment decisions. The fifth and perhaps most dangerous mistake happens when we let our emotions drive our investment decisions, especially as retirement approaches. I've seen this mistake devastate retirement accounts time and again, yet it's rarely discussed in traditional financial planning. During a neighborhood gathering, I heard the story of Tom and Barbara who had done everything right, saved consistently, diversified their investments, and accumulated about $1.2 million by 2008. They were just 2 years from their planned retirement when the market crashed. Watching their balance drop by over 30% in a matter of months, they panicked and moved everything to cash, just until things settled down. By the time they felt comfortable investing again in 2011, the market had already recovered most of its losses, and they had locked in a permanent $300,000 reduction in their retirement savings. They had to delay retirement by 5 years. Our brains are wired to protect us from danger, but this same wiring that helped our ancestors survive can sabotage our financial future. When markets fall, every instinct screams to run for safety. Yet historically, these moments have actually been the best times to stay the course, or even invest more. There's a Japanese concept called mizuki, which means seeing with water. It refers to approaching situations with a calm, adaptable mind that takes the shape of its container rather than fighting against it. Japanese investors are often taught to cultivate this emotional discipline, to see market volatility as natural rather than threatening. As retirement approaches, it's critical to ensure your investments match your actual time horizon, not just your emotional comfort. Remember that retirement isn't a single event, but potentially a 30-year period. You'll need growth to outpace inflation throughout those years. Consider working with a financial advisor who can serve as an emotional circuit breaker during volatile times. Having someone who can remind you of your long-term plan when emotions are running high can be invaluable. Think about the last market downturn. How did you react? Did emotions drive your decisions? And more importantly, do you have a strategy in place for the next inevitable market drop? As we explore these 5 critical financial mistakes, I hope you recognize that retirement planning isn't just about saving enough. It's about saving smart. The good news is that even if you've made some of these mistakes, there's still time to correct course and strengthen your financial future. Remember, the wealthiest retirees aren't necessarily those who earn the most during their working years. They're the ones who understood these financial pitfalls and navigated around them. They recognize that retirement security comes from thoughtful planning, not just larger paychecks. What sets apart those who retire with confidence from those who retire with worry isn't luck. It's awareness and action. Every financial decision you make today is either moving you closer to or further from the retirement you deserve. I firmly believe that financial peace of mind is within reach for every American who's willing to address these mistakes head-on. Whether you're 30 years from retirement or 3 years away, implementing these corrections now can dramatically improve your financial outlook. The poet Maya Angelou once said, "When you know better, you do better." Today, you know better. The only question is, what will you do with this knowledge? If this video has helped you identify even one mistake you might be making, please take a moment to like it and share it with someone who might benefit. Subscribe to our channel for more straightforward financial wisdom without the industry jargon or sales pitches. I'd love to hear which of these mistakes resonated most with you, or if there's another retirement planning challenge you're facing. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, it's never too late to course correct your retirement journey. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.